Welcome to the series on blogging. I'm so excited that you are taking it. In this first unit, we're going to talk about why you need to blog. First, we're going to talk about how Google works. We're going to talk about some terms. We're then going to talk about why people stick around on your website. Next, we're going to cover how blogs equal the time on the site. And lastly, we're going to really talk about how to connect with your ideal client. There's so many reasons that you need to blog. Just a couple of them are to attract your ideal client and to make Google really happy. So first, let's talk about how does Google work. So first, Google works in that they want to know who are the experts. Who are the people that are out there that really should be giving good information? So for example, the WebMDs, the CNNs, all of the news organizations, the ones that we can trust and rely on, that's what they want to rank first. And we want you to be one of those people that they can trust and rely on. So how do they determine expertise? Well, first they look for content. So what is content? Content are all the blogs, information, videos, infographics, all of this stuff that basically says, here's the answer to your question. When someone's asking a question on Google, they're searching for something, and Google wants to find the very best answer that's most accurate. And then they want that content to be regular. And so to them, an expert is creating regular content. Now, before we dive in too far, let's talk about a couple basic terms when it comes to websites. So first term is SEO, search engine optimization. So search engine optimization is basically, how does Google know that you exist? How do you optimize your website so that they know you exist? And how do we make sure that you rank as high as you possibly can? Okay, next we're going to talk about traffic. What is traffic? So traffic is just the amount of people that are coming to your website. So think of it in regards to cars. How many people are driving through your website and how many are sticking around? Next, we want to look at the term bounce rate. So a bounce rate is when someone comes to your website and then they quickly bounce off of it. And so we've all done it where you Google something, maybe you Google a French restaurant and for some reason the first website is how to speak French. Boom, you just go back and you keep searching. Having a high bounce rate is bad for your website because it means that people have come to your website and they've said, oh, this isn't for me. So we want to keep your bounce rate low. Next, internal links. So an internal link is a link that goes from one page on your site to another page on your site or to another blog post on your site. And so, for example, you might write a blog post. In your bio, you might put the name of your counseling practice, you might put the name of your town plus the word counseling, and link back to your homepage. Or say you have a blog post that's about anxiety, and you reference depression, and that word depression symptoms goes to a blog post that's about depression symptoms. So that would be an example of an internal link. And lastly, we want to look at the term external links. So an external link you should not use very often, but when appropriate. Think of that as sort of like a hole in the bucket, but it's going to go off of your website. So if someone's on your website and they haven't scheduled a counseling appointment, we really don't want to send them off too often. And that includes to your social media, that includes to resources. We really want to do our best to keep people inside that website as much as possible. All right, so that's how Google works: expertise, content, regular content. Next, we want to look at why do people stick around? Why do they stick around? With experts, they stick around because they trust that person. They connect with that person. They may connect with their style. You as a counselor might do parenting counseling, and you might have a certain approach. Maybe it's attachment parenting. Maybe it's free-range parenting. Maybe it's shade-grown, conflict-free, organic parenting. Whatever the way is that you do it, there's a certain audience for that. And blogs, they increase the amount of time that someone is on your website. And so someone reads a blog post, they read it, they click on another blog post, wow, I'm really connecting with this therapist. And what that does is it then builds that connection, but also to Google it says this person's an expert. This is a person we can trust. This is someone that when people come to their website, they stick around. And so that's why blog posts, having some YouTube videos embedded in those, and we'll talk about how to do some of this, having infographics that people can download, all these things that keep people around on your site, it's really important because then what happens is Google says, this is an expert. And that's what you want. You want people to not bounce off of your website. And if they do, you want to make sure that those are the people that really know right away whether or not you're what they're looking for. And so some things we want to look for on your website are, does it say counseling if you're a counselor? What kind of private practice are you? What are you doing? Are you a nutritionist? Are you a chiropractor? Make sure that's very clear within about 3 seconds. So yes, blogging helps you with ranking with SEO. It helps you even more than that by connecting with your ideal client. So for example, let's say your daughter was cutting and you started to Google what to do when your daughter is cutting. Then you find this great article that really helps you. You're going to then connect with that therapist. Or say your partner just cheated on you and you type in what to do when your partner just cheated, and someone gave you some very great tips about, let's do some mindfulness. Let's just allow yourself to just relax and see what's happening here. Find a close friend that you can vent to, journal. They give you great advice, and then there's a call to action to come in and do counseling. That's going to help you connect with that person even more. Or say you're feeling anxious at work and then you get some tips on how to reduce anxiety when you're at a staff meeting. Reduce anxiety if you have to speak publicly at work. So these things, basically there's two sides of it. One, you have SEO, ranking high in Google. The other side is that you're connecting with your ideal client. So now, when those two things happen, that's going to help you do everything else and attract your ideal client. In the next unit, we're going to talk all about how to identify and attract that ideal client.